Welcome to the Hustle Today podcast with Trent Bray from Hustle Energy. Today's guest is Katie McMinn, founder of Hint of Lavender. On a special note, today's audio may sound different for the fact that the main audio recording did not work on this. However, I was able to extract the audio from the video camera. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's jump into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hustle Today podcast. I am very honored, very excited to have Katie McMinn here with me today. Katie is the wife of my good friend Thomas, who was on episode 1. However, I don't want to take anything away from her because she is an awesome businesswoman, entrepreneur in her own right. So, Katie, why don't you tell us, jump into this and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you for having me and for that lovely intro. So, as you mentioned, I'm married to Thomas McMinn, who is an amazing man. I obviously think so.
I hope so.
Yeah. We have 2 boys. I work full time. I've been working over 15 years with the state of Utah, and I have my business Hint of Lavender, and I have my life as a mom. Yeah,
and that's a full-time job in itself, right?
Yes, it is, definitely.
So you've got a lot going on, and you've got lots of other side projects beyond Hint of Lavender that we'll get into. But I kind of want to start out. How do you manage the full-time job, the side hustle, the being a wife, being a mother, being a member of the community? You take on so much. You like to host parties as well. Like how do you manage that all?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. So one of the things that I've been trying to focus on now is just slowing down. That whole concept of slowing down in order to speed up. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that when I can slow down and come up with a game plan and sort of live in the now, live in the present, and focus on what I can right there in the moment, and then eventually get to the other stuff. It keeps me a little more sane.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely living in the present.
Okay. So focus on what you can control, and I know Thomas has talked a little bit about this of some of the tantrums and things like that. You at that point in time, you can't really focus on business. You are there in that moment. Yeah,
and that's one thing I do try to do, that when it's time to be a mom, I'm a mom. So we kind of have this rule that when we get home from work, we don't do any other work until the boys are in bed. So It's family time, 100%.
Very good. Very smart. Yeah. And not only for the family aspect, for the relationship aspect, because you know that you've got their undivided attention. So, yeah. So who in your life has been most influential in who Katie McMinn is today?
So one of the things that I really value about myself is just my work ethic, and I think that stemmed from my mother. She always worked. She always had a job, and I remember growing up, she had a hard time with friends and people in her community giving her a hard time about working. They felt that she should have been staying at home, being with, the kids full time, and that was just something she didn't want. And so while she was with us a lot, I remember in my earlier years, she did a daycare out of her home. And so she was with us, but then she also kind of had this business that she was pursuing. And then as we got older and we were in high school, she started working outside of the home a lot more. And so while we were in school, she was gone working. And then, funny enough, when I left and went to college, she went back to college. And so...
you didn't share a dorm room or anything, right?
No. So she actually started college my senior year. Or I technically didn't have a senior year. I graduated my undergrad in 3. So I was a junior and graduating, and she started up, and then a couple of years later graduated with her bachelor's in social work, and then went on to get a master's in social work.
Very cool.
Now she's been doing therapy and she's been working at the Adoption Exchange for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
So yeah, she's an incredible woman. She does a lot of different things, which is kind of how I operate.
Yeah. Well, I like that she recognized that she wasn't fulfilled by the stay-at-home mom, full-time deal, and went and did in the face of people telling her not to do that. That's really cool that she stuck to it and was willing to, or understood herself well enough to know that that wasn't the fulfillment for her.
Yeah, and I always say that with friends too. Like, some of us want to stay at home. Yeah. Some dads want to stay home and be a stay-at-home parent, and that's a wonderful thing. And I think that you hit it right on the head, that it's finding out internally what you want and what fulfills you, and being able to have the bravery to do that every day.
Absolutely. And that's not to say that you can't still have a great relationship with your kids, because when you're there, you're 100% focused on them, and it's all about the quality of time, not the quantity.
Yes, like we'd mentioned before, so my kids go to quote-unquote school, which is a daycare that's at the place where I work. And it's funny because at first I felt really guilty about being away from them all day. But then again, when we get home and it's family time, I get, 3 to 4 uninterrupted hours of just playtime with them. And I would take that quality of time versus the whole day of kind of mediocre time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that's very cool. It sounds like your mom's an amazing woman, and I'm glad she influenced you on who you are today, because I think you've turned out to be a great person. So,
well, thank you.
So how is it that you decided to start your own business?
Gosh, I don't really know how it started. I had been blogging for about 3 years, and I guess it kind of started there. I was promoting other people's products. And I just thought, well, I don't want to be selling other people's products for them and marketing their products. I want to be doing that for myself, for my own products. So I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted a business. And then this idea for Hints came, where I wanted to inspire people to gather the ones they love in their home. And I have been a graphic designer in my full-time job for over a decade now. And so I just started designing these plates and napkins that just kind of came to me. And so I figured, well, this is it. This is a good place to start. And so that's where I started.
That's very cool. And that line you said, inspiring people to gather together. It's an awesome mission for Hint of Lavender. And I think that's something that that more people need to do, because we're so connected to our phones that even when we are in the same room together, we're not necessarily connected. And so that's a very cool mission for Hint of Lavender, and I definitely support it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely behind it.
So in this process, what would you say has been your biggest failure, and what have you learned from it?
Getting products to sell. I officially launched in November, and in my mind, I thought that I'd have them all sold within 3 months. Now, granted, I'm only about a month and a half in, and I've sold some, not nearly as many as I had thought, and so that's been a big challenge. But the thing that I've learned is sometimes you just have to jump into it and just go for it. And I was having a conversation with Thomas a couple of nights ago where I was a bit discouraged. I was like, oh, I'm not meeting this goal. And it's really hard because I'm a very goal-oriented person. So to have a goal and not be able to meet it is frustrating. But he helped me realize that it is completely out of my control whether or not people buy. I can't make people buy stuff, so I shouldn't have that as a goal, right? But he was saying that in my frustration, he was like, the thing you don't realize is you're looking at this as if you've wasted all of this money. But if you would have put this money into, say, an MBA or even just a business class, you've learned way more than you potentially would have from a class or from getting an MBA, because you're actually just doing it. Absolutely. And so that was really helpful, because I was like, oh, okay, we're just kind of doing this. And I've put some money into this, and I've had some great experiences. And I think the thing that I've loved the most about it is that I feel like I have grown so much as a person in, the however long, 6-7 months that, when I first started this. So that's really exciting.
It is. And I can speak from experience on getting product made is is a nightmare.
Yeah, you've had quite the experience.
Yeah, we're a year and a half into it, so, and I still don't have a physical product. So
it's frustrating. I hear you. It's like one of those things where you have moments where you're like, I'm done, I'm giving up, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And then, the high comes and you're like, this is the best thing in the whole world, I'm never going to stop doing this.
Yeah, my goal is to shorten that time period on the lows, just to start climbing back up.
And realize that it ebbs and flows.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited that you've got your product out there, but I was talking to another person I interviewed that was selling a course, and they had the same idea that they're like, you know what, I'm going to put this course out there and people will buy it. And then he got one sale. He's very transparent about it. He's like, I just didn't have any sort of traction on it. And he's like, it's fine. I've learned for the next time around. And he's like, since that time I've learned, it's all about the pre-launch and the pre-launch. And it's all about the ramp up to it. The actual course or the product doesn't necessarily matter as much as the marketing leading up to it.
Sure, the hype around it for sure.
Yeah. What's something that you've learned now, been through this process a little bit, what's one piece of advice you would give to somebody starting a business today?
Starting a business. Well, again, I'm a big planner, so I think going into something strategically is better than just Thomas is a fly by the seat kind of a guy. Like, he just goes for it and just however it works out. And miraculously enough, he seems to be more successful than I am. So maybe his approach is better. I don't know. But I like to come up with a plan and kind of figure out, I guess just really, so that I'm being more clear about this, have a really set goal in mind so that you know where you want to head. Because I feel like you can get pulled in so many directions, but if you don't have that one thing that you're really working towards, then I tend to kind of flounder. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm doing marketing now, I'm trying to do sales, but what is it that I'm really trying to accomplish? And all of those things should really fall into one goal or strategy, if you will. So I definitely think having that point of just direction is good.
Absolutely. A goal is crucial. I mean, I am more leaning towards the type of just jump into it, but at the same time, if you don't have that goal, then it's more easily pushed off to the side. If you're not seeing traction instantly, which pretty much no business, if you just jump into it and don't have a goal and you don't get traction after a couple weeks, that's very rare that happens. It's very easy to get distracted and off onto something else. So that is good advice.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what we were saying too. Keep in mind that there's going to be good things and there's going to be bad things, and you have to kind of take it all together.
Absolutely.
Because there have been so many times I've gone to Thomas and I'm done, I'm out, I'm over. I cannot do this anymore. I remember just applying for the trademark. I thought I was going to lose my mind. Putting in a trademark application. I would go on the website, I watched all these videos, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I'd start the application. I don't know if this is the right option. What if I choose the wrong one and I'm at $200? And then it was funny. I had this day where I wasn't feeling very productive. And so I was like, I'm just going to go sit on my bed with my laptop. I'm just going to do the application. And I somehow, I don't even remember doing it really. It was this crazy moment. But all of a sudden I clicked submit. I was like, oh, okay, we're done. And it was so not a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I think it's constantly having that attitude that the lows are going to be there, the highs are going to be there, and you just have to keep going. Thomas and I have this saying, if we just do one thing for the business every day, then all of those things will add up to something big. But if you can just always be doing something every day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like the compound effect. You do those little things, eventually it snowballs into something much bigger. So
yeah, for sure.
That's also something that I think would be good advice for somebody starting a business is do one thing towards it every single day and you'll eventually get there, even on the days you don't want to do it. So,
yeah, for sure.
So one thing that I've gotten a lot of great answers from this next question I want to ask you is, how would you personally define the word hustle?
So before I started a business, or maybe right as I was starting my business, I would have defined it as grinding it out, working 24/7. When you are awake, you are working. And I did that when I first started the business, and it was not good at all. So now, today, I kind of would go back to things that I've already mentioned. I think it's slowing down and focusing just on yourself internally and taking that moment to take a pause so that you can work more effectively during the day. And then again, choosing that one thing to accomplish. I feel like Thomas and I, we have this thing where we talk about you've got to push that boulder. Once it's going, it's easy to keep it going.
Right.
But the second it stops, it's like, oh my gosh, this thing is so heavy. And so it's like, before I used to think, oh, that hustle was like constantly moving that ball, never stopping. Like the second you're awake, you're moving that ball and you're going. And it's just not that way for me anymore. It's like pushing it a little bit, keeping that momentum going, but it's that slow and steady. You do that one thing a day, that rock is still moving, and it's not, you're not like grinding it out, making yourself sick over it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I would define it for sure.
Okay. I like that analogy, using the boulder, and it doesn't have to be going extremely fast. It just has to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, doing one task really well is a lot better than doing 10 tasks half-hearted.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So I want to dig in a little bit into your business a little bit. So it seems like this has definitely been more of a passion project. Maybe not initially. You kind of mentioned that you just kind of stumbled upon a business that works, but I definitely now at least get the sense that this is something that you are very passionate about.
For sure.
So why is gathering people together a passion for you?
So we've always been kind of the party house. We're kind of that party couple. We started having annual Christmas parties the year before we got married. And so we always have our Christmas party. We always have big barbecues. Like, we're just kind of the party house. And as I've become a mom, I've had a lot of friends say, how do you do this? Like, I don't even know. I go to the party store and I don't know what to choose. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. Like, how do you do it with such ease? And I'm like, well, girl, you have no idea. I've had a lot of practice, first of all. But I've, met with my friends and have met people along the way as I've started this business who the idea of planning a party and gathering just sounds overwhelming and like a lot of work. And so for me, I felt like, well, it's not a lot of work for me and it comes quite naturally. So why not share this concept with people and share my knowledge? And so that's kind of where Hint of Lavender kind of came from, was I wanted to share my knowledge of just party planning and making things look pretty. I love doing that. And so it's just kind of it's sprouted into this idea of sharing that knowledge with people. And then I've transitioned that into this business because I personally find so much joy in gathering people that I love around me. I just think it's such a wonderful way to spend life.
Absolutely. It's about the experiences, not necessarily the things, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And I can definitely relate when I do muster up the courage to try and host a party and go walk through the party supply store. It's like, okay, these plates look nice, these cups look nice, but they really don't go together very well. And I don't claim to be very fashionable or understand the design as well as you do, but I at least can understand that some of these things don't necessarily go together. So I really like that Hint of Lavender has a collection. Like you've got everything there from napkins to plates to bowls or to cups rather, that are all the exact matching collection, not necessarily the exact same design, but they have the same theme and feel, and that's awesome and makes it super easy for somebody to put something together.
Sure, yeah, and that's kind of the idea. I'm hoping as the business grows, I can make the collections bigger. Like, I want to add banners and garland and stuff. You just kind of get this whole package.
Wow.
But I definitely need more capital. So that's in the works whenever that day comes.
Yeah, I would not even, now that tells me my party planning skills are lacking, because I would never have thought, this party that, we're hosting a get together, let's put some garland up. It's like, unless it's Christmas time or something like that, that's the only time garland comes to my mind. But that does make sense. The thinking about it now, it's like, oh yeah, that would add something to the ambiance. So very cool. So obviously you are passionate about, you want to share that passion with people, and one way that you've been sharing your passion is in another way is through books.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really enjoyed what you've put out there so far. You've got 2 books that are published right now so far, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Big Girl Decisions and the Grateful
Mama.
Grateful Mama. There we go. Yes, both very cool. My wife loved your first book, and we loved the Grateful Mama so much we bought them as gifts to give out to people, because
That's awesome.
it's a really cool concept to just have, a gratitude journal in a way, but for geared specifically towards a mother who may feel like they have everything going against them. I have 3 kids. I know what it's like to have a 4-year-old that basically controls your life. And you feel like that's, fighting against you. But, just going through that Grateful Mom, I was like, this is awesome. This is fantastic. This is something people need. And so,
oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so I didn't quite mention, so when I first started my blog, it was for moms.
Mm-hmm.
The concept with Hint of Lavender started with this idea of finding balance in the chaos of motherhood. And I did do a lot of the party planning and gathering stuff. And in the midst of starting my blog, I also wrote my first book, which is Big Girl Decisions. So my journey to motherhood started off with a lot of anxiety and fear. Thomas really wanted a family long before I did. He was ready to be a dad, and he just had to wait for me to kind of grasp the concept of motherhood. And so after I had my 2 boys, I felt like I just wanted to share my journey. I was completely terrified. I decided to take the plunge and start a family, and then my first pregnancy ended in a miscarriage. And so I wanted to kind of share that story to give other mothers who are experiencing that just some strength and courage and relatability, and to know that, they weren't alone, and that everyone's journey to parenthood is different, and that if we can start talking more about, the hard things that we go through, maybe we can help each other along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where Big Girl Decisions came from. And then along that same line, Grateful Mama, like you said, is the gratitude journal. And it's Thomas is all about, I love him. He always gets me into these new things, these challenges and ways to improve myself. Yeah. And so he started getting me on a gratitude journal, but I couldn't write every day. That was just a lot for me. At the time, my boys were like 2 and 3, so it was a rough time. And so I thought I could do this at the beginning of every week. And so that's kind of where the idea of Grateful Mama came. It was like, if you could do it every week and write down 3 things you're grateful for, a type of self-care that you're going to provide during that week, and then 1 goal, because again, goal-oriented.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of where Grateful Mama came from.
It's very cool. And it's very helpful, honestly, to share your experiences and let people know that they're not alone. Like when you started your blog, I mean, that's something that is a lot more common than people talk about. And so it's great that people can see it being presented out there, so they feel more comfortable with sharing their own experience or talking to you, or commenting on your blog, or whatever the case may be. It's just you're allowing them to be vulnerable too. Mm-hmm. And that's really what sharing experiences is. And it kind of comes full circle back to, hosting your parties and events, and, you're just sharing experiences with people and allowing them to be themselves in their environment.
Yeah, for sure.
So very cool. So do you have any future books that you have planned at this point in time that you can talk about?
Yeah, so I definitely want to do another memoir of my boys from ages about like 3 to 8, kind of that toddler into kid stages. I'm also working on a cookbook / party planning book. Okay. So we'll talk about just the basics of like party planning, and then I want to give ideas for each season and give recipes for like a full-on dinner party down to like just a cocktail party.
Okay.
and do that kind of like in every 4 seasons. So
Very cool.
yeah, I'm excited.
That's very exciting. It's another one that I'll have to definitely purchase because I need the helpful hints to planning the party. So what is it that excites you about the future? It doesn't necessarily have to be business related, but what is it that excites you about the future right now?
Everything. Everything. I feel very just excited about what's to come.
That's good. And that's better than the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, I feel really excited about my business and building it and getting it bigger. I feel super excited about my boys getting older and experiencing more things with them. It's heart-wrenching to see them get bigger, but at the same time, I'm noticing every day I just have more and more fun with them, and so I'm excited about that too.
Yep, my 4-year-old's now getting into a stage where she's become a lot more fun. She's always been our toughest one, and so it's like, okay, there might be a light here at the end of this tunnel, but yeah.
Awesome.
So a couple rapid fire questions I want to throw at you. So you're about to fight someone. What song comes on?
Lose Yourself by Eminem.
Hey, there you go. Whether it's a rap battle or an actual battle, that's a perfect song.
Yeah, I think so.
So you've been given an elephant. You can't give it away. You can't sell it. What do you do with it?
You write it for sure.
You write it.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. I like it. That could be a lot of fun, and definitely easier for your kids to ride than your dogs.
Yes. Yes.
So if you could make a rule for a day that everyone has to follow, what would it be?
You have to play like a child.
Oh, wow. Didn't see that coming. That's a good one.
All day long.
Wow. That would be a lot of fun.
Wouldn't it?
The world would probably get through a lot of conflicts and trials very easily by doing that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to think about that one. That's a good answer.
Thank you.
Who would win in a fight, Spider-Man or Batman?
Batman. He has a lot more toys.
Okay. Right.
Think of all the things, the gadgets and stuff. Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man's alright. I mean, he can fly, he's got the webs and stuff, but I mean, Batman's got a lot in his cave.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, does pineapple belong on a pizza?
I think it can, sure. I like it.
Okay. You're entitled to your wrong opinion, but you know. And then, stepping away from the rapid fire real quick, but you look up in the dictionary under Katie McMinn, what does it say?
That's a tough question. I would probably say hardworking.
Okay.
I mean, I'd hope all the other good things like loving mother, supportive wife.
Yeah. Well, I would agree that you are a hard worker, so I can get behind that.
Thank you.
But I want to give you some time to shout out anyone in particular, or where people can find you, where they can get more information about Katie McMinn.
Okay, yeah. So KatieMcMinn.com has all of the stuff about writing, all my books. You can find links to all of that. If you're interested in the party stuff, that is hintoflavender.com. And I'm on social with both of those, just Katie McMinn and Hint of Lavender.
Cool.
It's not too hard to find me.
Yeah. I'll make sure to include links in the description for Katie to where you can find her. But I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to sit down with me, and I really appreciate that people are willing to take time to talk to me and go over, their version of hustle. And so I really appreciate all that you're doing, and I know you've got a great future ahead of you, so I appreciate that I can get in on the ground floor and talk to you now before all the things take off. So.
Thank you very much. It was fun. I had a good time.
Well, for anybody that listened, I know you got value out of it because I got value out of it, but I encourage you to get out there and hustle the day. Thanks for listening to the Hustle the Day podcast all the way through. I really appreciate that.
I just want to let you know that I help small businesses with their online strategy. So if you or anyone that you know needs help with their online strategy and owns a small business, I'm your guy. Go ahead and connect with me at Trent V. Bray on Instagram or TrentVBray.com.